Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail back with more Kerbal Space Program Mothership Jool. And today we're going to be trying to move past some of the mishaps and terror from last time. You can see that I have what is labeled as a drone ferry up here. This is one of the more important parts of the Mothership phase, where I have multiple drones that I will be sending to Jool, and I want to attach them to the Mothership just to have them all together as they go around. Now, is this ferry going to work very well? That's one way to find out. You can see that I have the things decoupled on the bottom, but right away, first launch. Now, there's no people on this, but this seems to be a theme in this series so far. After so much early success in my earlier career mode, it's like I pushed myself with ship design, and look at that Rockamax rocket just floating casually into space. There's the moon in the background. We'll be talking about the moon a little bit more this episode, so lots of explosions. What a good way to start. Hey, look, the decoupling works pretty well. So that's what's supposed to happen. The probes are supposed to decouple, and then they're supposed to fly and attach to the mothership at the docking ports, and it's all supposed to be going so well, but it looks like the debris are going to maybe hit some parking lots. I hope you insured yourself with something. Auto insurance, Kerbal insurance. I don't know if we have rocket insurance or not, but those premiums are about to go up. So, more explosions. Just more explosions. So let's try this again. More space tape for stability. And I've already launched the mothership up into orbit. I actually managed to successfully make that launch with mostly the same type of stuff that I had the last time. But already you can see we have some spin, but everything is going okay. You can see that I okay other than the angle, which is an ugly, ugly, ugly angle. So it's a very ugly orbit right there. But this is what we get. We get the mothership coming across. We have a terrible spiral from this, and I'm not sure where the spiral exactly is coming from. Trying to fix that spiral, trying to fix my orbit. This is just little probes going around in circles. So what do we got? Just getting around here, you can see the mothership kind of passing by, which I don't mind it being close, but I don't like how ugly this orbit is. So right away you can see this is going to take a lot of fuel, a lot of adjustment just to try and get this attached and up there. Delete one of the Rockamax and just keep on going. At least it's able to get to orbit. So hey, we're in orbit for the first time in over an episode. But yeah, I'm not terribly satisfied with how that orbit looks, but we have right there 3 little drones. I do want to bring 6 drones to here, so just trying to get this all oriented after fixing the orbit just a little bit. And you can see that at least I can use the RCS thrusters on the drones as well. There is a little RCS fuel tank for each of them. So detach and decouple. Okay, that was not exactly what was supposed to happen there, because I haven't really met anything in orbit yet. But here we go. After a quick fix, taking the drones back up there, there is the Julian mothership flying its behemoth style above the atmosphere, just bringing one of my little drones over to try and dock with it. And I'll be honest with you, at the start of this episode I was very rusty with docking, so it does take me a little bit of pain to go through there. Now, one thing I don't like, and one thing I'm still trying to figure out, is you can see that I have some attached parts of the I have right there the decoupler just stuck on top of there. I don't like having the decoupler stuck to my ship. It's irritating, it's annoying, it's ugly, it limits where I can put docking ports. At least it's not like the poor Minmus mission that had my ships just wobbling to and fro every time. That's from one of my earlier 0.22 videos. But here we go. After taking a little bit of time to control, you want to target certain areas, and I do thank a person who posted a few months ago that you can actually target one of the docking ports. I don't know for sure if I actually target one of the docking ports here, but it is that helped me tremendously later on. So right now I'm just trying to align myself with the mothership. You want to lower your velocity to 0 and then go in. Now you can see that I have a docking port on the side instead of straight ahead. So this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. One of the reasons is that I have a lot of problems making docking ports work on the top of anything other than fuel tanks, especially on top of lander cans. Ships tend to fall apart. You can see that's one reason I try and have the unibody right here, but there is a problem and a series full of design flaws. Here is another design flaw. Look at the size of my probe and look at, that sounds like a terrible pickup line, look at the size of my probe. Anyway, but if you look at where the space tape is, the crossbar is, I can't actually fit this probe in the docking port. And it's not just one way, it's either direction. Because I want this to lay flat against the ship, and this is as close as I can get. Any closer and the struts are blocking me, and I can't exactly just cut the struts. And the struts are necessary to keep this on. It's kind of just a terrible weavy web. So if I had a docking port on top of this ship, on top of this probe, I can make it work. But I can't. So but that's exactly why we do these iterations. That's exactly why we do this test. That's why this is more than just a video of me saying, haha, you don't get to see all the problems I have here. But the next part of this phase of this test, because I do kind of want to try a live landing with this probe, is that I'm going to send it to the moon. Now, I wanted to attach it to the mothership to send it to the moon, but that's not happening. As you can see, I am spinning wildly out of control. It's not for anything wrong with the ship. I think I was just frustrated and went wee with the controls, because Jebediah is at the helm of the mothership, and that's just what Jebediah would do with the joystick controlling the probe, assuming it's not being controlled from the ground. But just trying to reorient myself so that when the probe fires for its lunar burn, that I don't just ram into the mothership, because that hasn't happened to me in any of my test play ever. So there we go, easy peasy burn to the moon. You can see that I do actually have plenty of fuel. This is a very low mass ship. Now it is going to be maybe a little bit of an issue in terms of having to slow down and brake for the moon, but that's a challenge that's going to come with time. Maybe there needs to be more fuel, but it does eventually become counterproductive regarding putting more fuel on ships versus trying to get them to go. But here's the mothership. I just want to do this one in real time, because you saw how quick and easy, even at 4 speed, that lunar burn was. This is sort of the first burn test for the mothership. Now, right now, it's being propelled by one Rockamax rocket. There are 3 nuclear engines as well. And those 3 nuclear engines are going to have to do a lot of work, because they're going to be pushing a bunch of probes, they're going to be pushing a lander unit, and then they're going to be pushing on the way back as well. And I have received some comments and feedback saying that I should be wary of pusher units, especially from some other YouTubers, specifically Scott Manley, if not others. Not that they've contacted me directly or anything, but just commenters anyway, saying that I should be careful with pusher units because ships tend to wobble. And my solution to that is space tape the fuck out of my ship, pardon my language, but space tape, it makes everything stick together. I have practically no wobble here. So it's not the prettiest thing, and in fact it's actually counterproductive to the design. So I could try and move around the struts a little bit, but I may just try and rethink how I'm doing the drones. Because as long as I can get enough fuel and Delta V in there, they're going to be on the mothership long enough to get into orbit. They shouldn't have to do as much work to actually get to the moons. But notice this talk that we've been having. This is one Rockamax rocket. It does so well pushing out of the atmosphere, but it is taking a long time. This is just getting to the moon. And a Rockamax rocket actually has a lot more oomph in it just by itself than 3 nuclear engines. So we could be having a very, very, very long interplanetary burn. I mean, usually you do anyway. I think a previous, just like first getting to know Kerbal Space Program, I think it took me about 20 actual minutes to burn my stopping burn to Duna when I didn't know that you could aero brake, so I actually reversed course above the atmosphere. That was painful, but yeah, we're just going to go ahead and go. And I like simultaneous missions because they make me have to pay attention to a lot of things. And you can see that I have the probe coming in first, going to do a quick orbit. And then I'm going to have the mothership come in. And notice I'm doing an elliptical orbit. That's to save some fuel here and just get the science. A little bit of gravity from the moon, and there we go. I could transmit that. I mean, there's no reason not to, but there we go. The mothership has slothed its way to the moon. You can see it still has the Rockamax rocket attached. I probably could try and do something with the fuel transfer, but all of my other fuel tanks are full. But eventually we're going to have to go to the nuclear power in some way, shape, or form. And for now, spinning this thing is a pain in the butt, as one would expect. Fortunately, no atmospheric interference means it's not too big of a deal, but we're just going to be doing the same retrograde burn down here. So there we go. Notice the lurch on the ship when firing the rockets, but nothing the SAS can't handle. I'm not using mech jeb or anything like that, not because I'm opposed to it, but just because I'm still... I feel like that's a better thing for me to do once I'm better at manually flying my ships and have a better understanding. So for now, I'll take some of these flaws, I'll take some of these things, but right now maybe the most important part of the episode here is to see, can I land a probe like this on a moon, on a place with no atmosphere? It'll just be strictly on the basis of the burn here. Because other than Lathe, every single moon that I'm going to be dealing with in the Julian system is going to have no atmosphere. Now my approach is at 500 meters per second at less than 100,000 meters. And you can see right there, that's from another moon rescue mission. So yay! We're landing at kind of the same spots of the moon the whole time. So memories. That was a nightmare. That was a rescue mission for my rescue mission. But that's Kerbal Space Program for you. But right now we have an unmanned lander going to the moon. Funny how I did a manned landing before an unmanned landing, but that's how it goes sometimes. So it looks like I may be hitting a crater, which is not ideal. I'd love to get in a not so slopey area of the plains right here, but right now coming in really fast. Really probably need to start burning like beyond yesterday. So there you go, 500, 400, may be able to slow this down enough. 400, 300, one problem that I have, and I really have gotten attached to this with having crew in there, is pressing C and looking at the altimeter. I have no option like that with this probe. So just slowing down 300. Not terrible on fuel. 200. 200. Slowing down, slowing down. That surface is coming really fast. Can I slow down enough? 100. Fuel's burning just a little bit. 30, 20, 10. Alright. We have a probe. We have a probe that is approaching kind of the ground. So far, so good. Fuel to spare. Fuel enough to get back into orbit? I don't know. Probably. But remember, this probe is not designed for re-entry and reconnection of the mothership. These probes will be going to the moons to stay there and just broadcast in their stuff, leaving space junk, much like humanity and real-life space programs where we leave things on plenty of interstellar objects, at least as far as we've explored. I believe the farthest one is a probe that we landed on Titan a few years ago. Not we, I think it was the European Space Union. America falling behind. So here we go, 9, 8, 7. This is why I like to avoid craters. You can see the ground scatter, but there is a definite slope on the ground. That is a pretty significant slope, to be perfectly honest with you. But there's spot shadow. And where people will say constantly landing on the moon is harder than landing on Mimas, it's entirely because of gravity. You have to really, really, really finesse it landing on the moon. But you can do it. You can do it. You just got to fire your engines and get engine assisted. The moon's gravity is very similar to Val's. Kerbin's gravity is actually very similar to Tylo's. Mimas may be a better representation for Bop and Paul. And Lathe has atmosphere, so Lathe has entirely different considerations. But Lathe also has gravity that's kind of in the middle between Kerbin and the moon. Probably much closer to Kerbin, to be honest. But here we go, burning a little more fuel than I like, but 3, 4, that's a little fast. 0, back up, back down, and oh, hit a little too hard, and that's where the slope hurts, and oh no, this is not going to work. Oh. So, mission objective, find a flatter surface to land. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a total colossal failure. There's enough fuel, it was able to slow down. It was just user error, which I guess at this point in this space program a few years in is probably inexcusable, but landing in a slope like that, well, what do you know? You start the episode with an explosion, you end the episode with an explosion. Or we'll just call it fancy litho braking, except you're not going to get a lot of science from it. So we have explosions, and next time when we go into this video, we're going to be doing a little bit more of lunar maneuvers, because I also want to test and see if the Lathe lander can land on the moon. Now there's no atmosphere there, so the parachutes won't be used, but if I can get the engines to fire as they need to, then I should be in shape. So more moon madness next time in Mothership Jool. This is Way to Fail. That's it for now. See you next time.